Thank you guys so much for coming out. I will just tell you a little bit about myself. Hi, although it's not for me. My name is Chelsea Stewart, and I'm the adult coordinator here at Cumberland Public Library. So just in a nutshell, I do programming. A lot of our programming we do right here, where you guys are. We do Meet the Author, as Dr. Fuller is here to do today. And just a range of different other things, computer classes, whatever you can think of pretty much for adults, you name it, we can probably do it here. So it is a pleasure to be in front of all you guys today and to be in the presence of the most respected Dr. Fuller. I'm not from the county originally, but I've heard many, many wonderful things about him. So it's a pleasure to be here again. And Dr. Fuller, would you please take the stage, please?
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Good afternoon to all that's present so far. Thank you for coming out. Give my grace to the great spirit above that kind of guided me through this book writing and people testing for y'all eating right now, so I shouldn't say that right. Some people can handle it, some can't. But to my editor and publisher, Wayne Drumheller, he kind of held my hands. I met him here in the library probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then the pandemic hit. So I kind of put things on hold for a while, but all things kind of come back full circle sometime. So in the process, I started to recompile my notes that I've had probably since 1984 when I did my first human case of parasites. Now, I'm a veterinarian by profession, which I came home 40 plus years ago just to do the four-legged animals. But the Great Spirit had a certain purpose for me. Whoever your Great Spirit may be, but I know who mine is, whose am I? So I give credit to credit is due. And in the process of 1984, the lady come in with an 8-year-old son. In the medical world, the doctor had given him 6 to 8 months to live. As I stood and listened to her talk, I said, ma'am, that don't sound right to me. I said, I'm a veterinary doctor, but we have leukemia-like symptoms in the animal world. And she looked at me and I kind of looked at her and I said, that sounds kind of like an animal with bleeding ulcers. Have your son ever been checked for internal worms and parasites? She said, no. So I said, one more test won't hurt you. So she went back to a family doctor and he had checked him, the hospital in Down, and had sent the kid to the Bowman Gray Hospital in Winston-Salem. That was back in 1984. So she called me back, she said, my physicians say that we don't have a problem here in America with parasites. I said, well, I dispute that. I grew up on the farm. My grandmother used to give us home concoctions for parasites and worms. So if you bring me a bowel specimen of your son, I will check it. So the next week she rolled up with her son's specimen. He had more eggs per life year than the cats she had in her household. And that's the picture on the front of that book that you all just purchased there. It's called 13 Full of Patients. Now, as a veterinarian, the animals is my patients. The owner of the animal is the client. But that's the reason why that picture's on the front there. That she was an artist. The mother of the son was an artist. But it's called 13 Full of Patients. You should be able to count 12 cats if you look at it real hard. You may have to look at it on the microscope. But some of us that got age, like my classmate over here, our eyesight is not quite the best. Well, a couple classmates here, our eyesight is not the best like it used to be. A few cousins around too. So you may have to kind of get your microscope and count to 12 cats plus a little boy. But it's called 13 Full of Patients. And so I encourage you to take this book, study it, take it back to your family physician, and don't ask, but demand you be tested for internal worms and parasites. Now, I've started and stopped this research here on this in the book and probably tested, I don't know, thousands of individuals now through the years. But I only pulled out maybe 15 or 20 different individuals in the book. But each one of those individuals in that book has some severe health problems. Once they was diagnosed as to the cause or root of the problem, they went back to the family physician and got medication, prescription medication. And all of them pretty much is a new individual today, within 2 months to a year and a half. I can't write a prescription as a veterinarian for humans, but I can make the diagnosis, which when we say the diagnosis, any disease that's transmitted from animals to humans, as a veterinarian by law, your veterinarian is supposed to tell you about it. So that's what I've been doing down through the years of consulting and conversation with my clients that come into office with the pets. So out on the farm, checking horses, cows, pigs. And as a veterinarian, I've been more orientated towards the large animal in my practice here in Kansas County. more about 65% big animals, about 35% dogs and cats, and a few small animals, pocket cats we call them. But read through the book, study it, study it, study it. If you have any questions or comments or something you understand or don't understand, my email's on the back of the book there. Please feel free to come call, and I'll be glad to discuss with you in detail. Whether it's over lunch, breakfast, or 12 o'clock at night now. I go to sleep a little early now, is my age, but I'll get back with you the next morning with the phone, when I look at the phone, okay? So like I said, we have Wayne Drummond here, who's my editor, publisher, one of another authors here, Mary Archer, who I met at the Burleson Arts League. She has several books that she's writing about the textile industry. Ms. Vicki Blackwell Morrow has several books out about, some of about the history of Kelly County that I've read. Kind of family. Then there's some family members here. Ms. Harsley, Ms. Vincent, her husband Anthony, my friend Jeanette, and then the caterers at G&G. We're all family here, so this is family on my mother's side here, and then most of you have been friends or clients down through the years. So I thank you one and all for coming out this afternoon, and I'll be here until 4, either 12 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock on Sunday. See, I come from a long line of Baptist preachers and bootleggers. You know, they say you don't, but you never close. If somebody want to break 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon when they leave church, call me. I'll try to accommodate you. And see, with that, you know, I said I'll try to accommodate you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When I first came home, and I told my dad, I said, Dad, you know, you helped send me through school. I'm sure you probably made a little hooch or something or other. Grandpa probably paid for the farm with a little bootleg. So I said, Dad, do you have the recipe to Grandpa's steel? I said, I need to make one more batch since I finished school now. I need to buy some medical equipment to open the practice up. My dad looked at me and kind of, he cursed a little bit, so I'm not going to say those words he used, but he said, son, we like the mafia now. We got you legal license. If I catch you doing something illegal, you ain't got to worry about going to jail. I'm going to cut your throat myself. I never sold no whiskey, but everything I do is legal. My records are in contact, and to make over this afternoon, the DA board make me stand on my doorstep. But I think my records be in compliance. So, so if you need something or want something pertaining to your health, please read and study and call me. And we'll see what we can do to try to improve that. But, down through the years, I've had enough individuals. I can overfill this room here. And once they got treated for the internal parasites and got diagnosed, the body began a healing phase. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll be around. Feel free. We got some snacks here from the G&G caterers, and I think it's pretty tasty because, you know, the long line of the Willis family, I've eaten some of the food quite a bit, so actually when they come out right now, a little something this afternoon to kind of help them. I'm just sorry I don't have no hooch for you this afternoon. Anyway. Yes, sir. Mike.
Don, can you tell them the story of how you left the farm? Your dad said both of you couldn't stay on the farm and you ended up at Tuskegee, and how you got into veterinary medicine?
Yes. Now, this young lady right here I started in the first grade.
Wow.
Beautiful, still beautiful today, you know. That's her sister Pat, for anyway, Dr. Pat, that's a classmate, Charles Black. He came in from one of the feeder schools. But anyway, I grew up.
started on the first grade with you too?
The first grade.
First grade, okay, first grade, so never come back, right? Okay, see, that's why I missed you, Charles. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But these guys and girls stimulated me. Now, they were the brains of the class. I had to struggle to get what I get, but you know, I made it, okay? And as I went through school, my high school 9th grade advisor, when I came back home at age 26, I did a career day at the local school, and she said, come out, young man, let me hug you. She said, all my 9th grade Section 8 students that was supposed to be counted the elite of the Calvin County schools at the time, she said, I would have thought you wouldn't even finish high school, but glad you're the first one that went off and got your doctor's degree, which I did. So by the great spirit, he held me in my hand and guided me. But in the process of coming out of high school, you know, Daddy, my mother was a school teacher, and Daddy had a pretty good life, but we farmed and worked hard. So I told Dad, I said, I think I want to farm, Daddy. Well, son, right now the farm ain't quite big enough for me and you together. And I'm too old to go to school, so one of us need to go. So you might want to think about going to school. But I was hoping I could be a young lady kind of like, you know, they would work and they bring a little income, and I farm and cattle, hogs and the pigs and the gardens, so we can do pretty good. You know, that's where I grew up on the farm, rural. But anyway, I said, okay, what the heck? So my senior year, I sent an application in the A&T in Greensboro, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I said, well, I'm going to leave home and just go to school. But I put on the application that I was going to major in animal science when I looked through the A&T catalog because, you know, growing up on the farm, I milked cows, mules, we had hogs, and what I went to school for was a marketing major in animal science to be a buyer for Winn-Dixie program. So in the process, I got accepted and went on through the program, but I had to take all the course requirements that the pre-veterinary medical students had to take: chemistry, physics. My senior year, my major advisor, "Fuller, what you gonna do next year?" Now, this is like 1973. I was hopefully graduating in 74, May. And I went in to get my criteria so I know I have enough credits to graduate. He said, "Why don't you send your application to veterinary school?" I looked at the old professor. I said, "Sir, you mean 4 more years of school?" No, sir. So anyway, I had a class at 1 o'clock under this gentleman, Dr. Totten, and we had to walk from room 101 down to room 104 just to wake us up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And he taught the second class too that afternoon. So we could have stayed in the same room, but that was just to wake us up right after lunch. You know, you kind of want to lay over and sleep a little bit. Somewhere between 101 and 104, he'd get beside me. He said, "Your application to Tuskegee yet?" "No, sir." And this went on for about 3 weeks. Finally, I just got tired of this man, you know. "He sent your application to Tuskegee yet?" So I filled out the application, sent in the $25 money order. Next time I said, "Dr. Cotton, I need a reference." Forgot all about it. He didn't say anything else about it either until April of 74. I'm about ready to graduate now from A&T and had started doing job interviews with different meat marketing companies because I went marketing major, be a buyer for Winn-Dixie Kroger, live cow on the hook. And I figured I could go out to Kansas and be, you know, buy the cow that drove up from Texas. I had watched the old rawhide pictures down through the years. You heard anything from Tuskegee yet? No, sir. No, sir. This went on for about a week. So finally, I got my application acceptance from Tuskegee. I had 10 days to reserve my slot. That was 1,700 applications for 45 positions at the incoming class in September 1974. Why was I chosen? I was in the first round of the first group. If I didn't reserve my slot in 10 days, they're going to pass on to position number 2, 3 on down the line. At the same time, I got the income tax refund back that I'd been working that summer. I said, well, this will get me to the summer job tax and drop my first paycheck. You know, I'm trying to calculate now and get through the system. The recruiter came up from Tuskegee and said, we've got young fellows and girls and guys down there driving new cars, can borrow money at 3% interest and take 10 years to pay it back. Well, that don't sound too bad. I went out on a job interview and they said, well, they're gonna bring me as a trainee manager in the processing plant, but I had to be at the processing plant by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in the mornings to do the sanitation so the process the meat, because I mean, that's a strict environment in the meat marketing processing industry. I looked at that man, I said, you know, Dad at least it gives up till the sun came up or the rooster crowed for day. And I'm gonna get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be at work. Well, I had to get at 3 o'clock to be at work. And I'm just still, you know, want to party a little bit, just come in about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, so I ain't get about 2 hours sleep. This ain't gonna work. I mean, you know, you kind of put 2 and 2 together. So I sent my $100 to Tuskegee and decided to go on down to Tuskegee. And here I stand 45 years later as a doctor of veterinary medicine. I had a lot of praying people, support. As I told my classmate here, we started out in the first grade, she was kind of like the Val Sal of the class. She stimulated all of us to try to keep up with her. And she was bright. Charles there, bright. So they kind of kept me, you know, on track. Sometimes I go out and play, but then I come back in, okay, now you know what we need to do, okay? So here I stand again today. So I thank all of you for coming out. Other fellas know that too. My mother's side there was Gwen, and they call her Wick. I won't call her that. I'm just a little nickname, okay? These are all still family members in here. And Ms. Dunkley is our video here today.
If somebody would like to contact you or have some samples seen, what's the best way to go about that?
I'm still at the office at 134 Julia Street where I started out at 45 years ago, and you can take a plastic spoon or put it in a Ziploc bag or a can jar or something, a little poop sample, we call it a bowel specimen, and call me, make an appointment. If you collect it today, the parasite's not going anywhere. You can keep it a week, 10 days, and bring it by my office or mail it in. But if you decide to drive it to my office, I will set up this specimen under the microscope, and you can look under the microscope with me and see the eggs and larvae in your own feces. I know it's kind of an awful thing to talk about, but, you know, it's health, and this is your health we're talking about. I mean, I got enough documentation that parasites are wreaking havoc, 20 to 46% of our health problems. Maladies is what I got on the book there, and there's some examples of actual cancer where that the lesion was cut out by the MD, they did the X-ray or scan, and worms oscillated out the cysts. So right now, we don't know the real cause of cancer. And a lot of them saying environmental toxins, X, Y, Z, but my theory and my research, once the parasite get in your system, it releases toxic waste in your body. So as the body tries to conserve it or keep it from spreading everywhere, it settles in some organ. That's when you get a cyst-like mass or a tumor-like mass. And then there have been several occasions, which is all in the book, of the MDs cut the mass out and worms oscillate out the cyst. So right now, I would say cancer is caused by parasites, and I know for a fact of lupus, chronic fatigue, multiple sclerosis, back, spinal disc degeneration, joint problems, infertility problems in the female is caused by parasites. A big cause of it anyway, because I've got individuals who once they got treated, the body did a reverse and healed itself. So get tested by EMD. If you want to be real brave, bring a little bit by me, my office, and we can look at it together. Yes, Mr.
Dr. Foley,
Yes, ma'am.
talk a little bit about the basic way that they enter. I know it's food, things that go in your mouth, but talk about, like for example, in DC, we were at a conference together or social activity, and I had a soda or something, and I was rinsing it or wiping it, and you said something about the movement or trying to clean it, that really wasn't gonna help. I don't know if you remember that experience, but
Yes.
you know, so simple things. I'm always washing my meat or washing my vegetables or cleaning my counters. What really happens in that process of these things getting into your system through what we use and what we eat, that kind of thing? Talk about that.
We get exposed to parasites, and most people think because you have pets or animals, where you grew up on the farm, some of the dairy farmers, ride horses, we have dogs sleeping with us, etc. That's a small source of infection. Parasites, especially the tapeworm, has to get out into the dust mite or the flea to complete its life cycle. So if you got dust mites in your home, fleas, or go outside in the grass and come back in working in your flower beds, you're constantly being exposed to the process of getting exposed to parasites. The top of a can jar or soda can, it stays in the back room of the stores. Dust mites, fleas, rats, roaches crawl across the top and lay the eggs. And see, the parasites as well as the eggs from the rodents is microscopic. You won't ever see them with the naked eye. Once you start seeing them with the naked eye, you got big problems. Big problems. So that's why I say from time to time, like my granny used to do us, growing up on the farm, she lines up a couple times a year to give us a home concoction. Make sure you keep the worms out of it. And apparently she knew what they were doing, because one grandmother was 97, the other was 87, my mother died at 96. So those old folks had a way of life that, with 5th grade education, that we need to go back to the basics. You know, your mom, grandma, my mother, grandma, we all cousins here, so you know, somebody need to go back and write those recipes. Or somebody that have not passed, got a person 90 years old, go back and find out what they did or did not do. Because it was a way of life. But we're exposed to environmental fly lay eggs on your food at the picnic, you might just get parasites. There's a horse pasture right down the road. We have a picnic here. You just got exposed to parasites.
Do you remember what any of the main ingredients were in those concoctions? Because now that you mention it, you think back when you were kids, I remember old people talking about that all the time, giving you something for worms.
My granny used to line us up with castor oil and turpentine.
Turpentine.
Now, depending on your body weight, I got the bottle down in my office there. She would take a broom straw, drop it down in the turpentine. If you weigh this amount, she may give you 2 drops. If you weigh this amount, she may let 3 drops fall into the castor oil. But twice a year, she lined everybody up and gave us a home concoction of castor oil and turpentine. Now, that was her home concoction.
Casserole probably do it by itself.
And, you know,
Move anything.
nobody had no real ailments back then. I mean, everybody was pretty healthy in my household.
Casserole.
So I advise you to get a detoxification now. I mean, a lot of the sinuses probably we're having this change of season, the weather change, everybody starts sneezing and barking and coughing. Keep your system clean out, the body will take care of itself. The body will take care of itself. But you know, we in such a fast-paced life. I mean, and I got sick January of '79. I was staying with my grandmother. And I had cleaned up about 8 years when I left home at 18 and came back at 26. And she fixed me up with a good concoction to break the fever. And she said, boy, you ain't clean your system out in a while. I dropped my head, no ma'am, I ain't taking no more of that castor oil. But I didn't tell her that. You know, so, I mean, you know, out of respect to her. She walked off, took a couple steps, and looked back at me. That's all right. I still have burial insurance on me. If you don't fix something, you're going to die. Since 1979, I've been detoxifying and cleansing 2-3 times a year, and I might not get out of this building today, but I'm 70 years old. Hey, I feel pretty good, you know. So, just the way of life and whatnot there. Do what you got to do and talk to your old folks and your family what they did, because back in the day, we didn't go to no doctors. First time I remember going up to the doctor was going up for the baseball team in 9th grade. I was born in the front bedroom of my grandmother's house, midwife. And so, you know, the MD world, medical world has its place in time for everything, but some things we have to do with mother wit. So I try to put a little bit of mother wit with my veterinary medical training, and I think it's helped down through the years to be able to communicate and survive Castle County for 45 years. And my mayor here, I haven't introduced him yet, but he was the mayor of Yanceyville, Mayor Alvin Foster. He's out today, and he gave me a day about, what, 10 or 15 years ago, his National Zoonotic Day at the town council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
But also, he told me when I first came home, said you could never go home again. It's kind of a quote, I think, from some movie or something we've seen down through the years, right?
Yep.
But anyway, here I stand today, Mayor Foster, so I thank you and your family and all for your support down through the years.
And we're both home.
We're both home, right? So you can never go home again. That was the kind of quote he told when I came home, because he back here earlier. I think he was teaching my brother how to play golf. My brother knocked him out with the golf clubs. He was at what, Boy Scouts or Toy Scouts, something at the time?
4-H.
4-H camp, okay. My brother took a swing. I mean, you had a knot on your head down there, brother. Oh, okay. And then my driving ed teacher here, Reverend Robinson, a few other clientele in here, but you know, so we've been around. Just grazed our cow farm, and did you bring any beer now? No more hops. He was raising hops at one time here, so you know. We still got some. You still got some? Okay, well, I thought maybe bring a little bit about a day and let everybody sample.
You know, you've done so much for other people in the community. What can we do for you?
Just keeping on, send up a prayer. Other than that, life is good. I got no right to complain. I was born here in the county, never been cold or harmed a day of my life, so I don't know what anybody really can do anything. I'm pretty much satisfied my bucket list. Just keep on praying and somebody read the book and help somebody else along the way.
Amen.
Unless you got a couple $1 million you want to write a check back. Money always helps, okay? Money always helps.
Well, I just want to say too, as Don's publisher and publicist, a couple years ago I started a book called 1,000 People of Meaning and Purpose. In that book are 4 presidents that I met when they were senators or governors. Don is in that book too. And so it's become pretty major since I put him in the book. And also, Don, when we first talked about doing his book, I asked him, I said, how long you been working on this? And you said?
Literally got started in 1984. I put it down about 3 different times, so there's 3 different research studies in that book.
Well, we're glad you finally wrote that book. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that lasts. It was the will of the Creator, not my doing, but I thank you for your help, Wayne.
Any other questions? Ask him lots of questions because he's got the answers.
I really don't have a question as such, but he said that I was his
driver education teacher, I want to know, I usually only acknowledge that if he's still driving in the right lane. and that he still has his driver's license. So if he does, I still acknowledge that. But I want to say that I'm just so happy because we had the opportunity of my grandkids. They're 16 now, but when they were about, I guess about 12, we brought them by his office and allowed them to interrogate him. And they have, and this is why I have 2 books for them, one each, that I'm going to send back to them. They were so carried away with, because they didn't say about whether they were going in veterinary medicine or not, but at least they had the opportunity to talk with me, and I don't know, they had a very impact on their lives, and they're doing quite well now, because Doc talked to them and inspired them.
Very good.
And the Reverend Robinson answered his question there. The last ticket I got, I was doing 95 and 45 zone.
Ooh.
All right,
That's been about 30 years ago, but I had
We didn't need
the truck that I was going to deliver a can, so the patrol said, you know, I'm supposed to take your license on the spot. So anyway, they let me go that time. But ever since then, I kind of backed off on my speed, okay?
All right.
Mr. That?
Dr. Fuller, would it be okay if I share a testimony from my
We'll get that just a minute, yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And we got another author here, Melissa Smith, that Wayne has helped from the county here. She just come in on the backside here. And also I have my deacon here from my churches here, my church family, my president of my Christian Education Association, Mars Boswell, and I think with the mask, so you might have to pull it down so I don't get, anyway, I'm good, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. And my pastor of Burton Chapel Baptist Church, Reverend Maurice Boswell. So my church family is out here today too. So I want to just acknowledge that they are here to come and support what we've been doing. And like Reverend Boswell said at Church Sunday, said the Parasite study and the book writing is Dr. Fuller's ministry. So I'm not really a preacher. I just come from a long line of Baptist preachers, but you know, I might get in the pulpit for us all said. It might be more lucrative too. I don't know, but anyway.
You're preaching now.
Well, that's my testimony. So, and later with the glasses, I can't see people with glasses shades on. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, I just want to see people that know come in and whatnot. We got a little food, right? And the gentleman back in the back. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I got you there. All right, see you. All right, good. We got a little food here in the back from the Goblin Sisters and whatnot. So any comment, Miss Kay Williamson here, she's here from doing some plays and stuff like that. So if you need to write your life story and have it put on Broadway, this young lady right here can take care of you. Mr. Fred Martin, they've done some Broadway shows and things of that nature. So Miss Williamson, and then Kathy Taylor, she raises German Shepherds there from time to time. So all have been clients of mine. They'll do years or support some kind of way, Ms. Broadwell, and these doing the foods on starting April Farmers Market. So, you know, we all kind of cooperate. My dad always said it takes the whole village to make the clogs of the wheel continue to turn. So I just came back home and just want to be part of the clogs of the wheel and able to survive and treat the animals. And like I told my brother when he was in the military, he did 20 years. I said, if you all keep the border safe, I'll try to keep y'all some food, health to cows, and pigs, and whatnot, food to eat. So I never was in the military, but I tried to do my part. So everybody makes a contribution to whatever it does take to make America tick. You know, some of the old brothers that make America great again. America's always been great because everybody want to flock here. So hey, I'm glad I was born here, so I just leave it at that. Okay. And Reverend Boswell, if you want to say a few words, they tell me I'm in charge here today, so I can give way to Hayel.
Well, I do want to say a few words because we call Dr. Fuller Doc at church. But as he said earlier, I shared with the congregation on the first Sunday that we all have different ministries. What my ministry is to preach God's word. The Lord has given Doc a ministry also. And the ministry, it goes far beyond just the small and large animals that he treats. He has given him a ministry to help him understand precursors to not just cancer, but various diseases. And with his human research, he is not just helping the animals, he is helping us. We all know about gut health. And most of the conditions and illnesses could be traced back to the gut, the intestinal tract. And what Doc is doing is a ministry because he is trying to provide research. He's trying to provide an opportunity for individuals to better understand some of the symptoms and the conditions that they are dealing with. Even though they have their own medical doctors, there are times that the doctors do not check the source, which is actually starting in the gut. So I'm blessed to have him at our church. He works tirelessly in the church. He works on our Christian education department. And Doc, when I left Raleigh today, I kind of misjudged my time because it was back-to-back traffic each way. But I would not have missed being able to come out and support you, your research, and the work that you're doing, because it is not just in Caswell, it is far and wide. People are contacting Doc from all over for the information that he has. And I'm just blessed that we have him with us in our church, and we have him in your county, and that he brought this back home. So Doc, we're proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. We have another classmate here too, that Charles and Valerie and Cora is all my classmates at Maladies High School, and Diggin Grader, he's at my church staff too. So you guys want to say a few words to Diggin Grader?
Dr. Edward, Pastor said, you know, I've been reading it. I think I'm on page 35, 40, and it's interesting and it makes you think. So everybody should read it. And I'm telling you, it's something, you know, we just don't know. Like the pastor said, you know, the doctor checks. Sometimes you go in, he'll ask, what's your problem? What's wrong with you? You know. And I'm thinking, well, you the doctor, you know, check. And if you tell him that, well, check everything, well, he's not going to check everything, you know. But thanks God to you, Doc. You keep up the good work.
David Grady bought a book from him about a week and a half ago, so he says page 35. It takes slow reading if you're not really medical, but I tried to write the book so that non-medical as well as the medical world hope to get on one accord. That's my objection. Mr. President, that's my president of the Christian Education Department, so I got to acknowledge Mr. President, right?
And we are definitely so proud to have Doc as part of the Christian Education Department. And Doc so generously donated 2 of the books for the Christian Education Department library. But today, Doc, I'm going to support you. I'm going to buy my own book. I definitely appreciate you supporting your church, as you always do. But we are so proud to have you, as my brother said, as a member of Burton's Chapel. And we are definitely proud to have you a part of our Christian Education Department. In fact, a few years ago, for Black History Month, we recognized some of our own Black history makers that are in the county, and we recognize Doc Fuller as a Black history maker, one of the first Black veterinarians, and how well he has done. And we are so proud of you.
Thank you,
He is.
Mr. President.
And she's Peggy.
And our retired comptroller of Caswell County, now she managed the money, but I haven't been able to get that money yet. You want to say a word to her? Well, you want to say a word to her? That's up to you. I just want to let you know, she's retired, but she was the one that managed that pencil with the money. So they say he who has the pencil has control of the county. So she was the comptroller of the county for how many years, Gwen?
18.
18 years, okay.
And I, as everyone has said, we are kind of in the family walking away, you know?
Yeah.
And we're proud to call you one of our own. We're proud that you have stepped up and said, this is my call and this is what I want to share. Because so many of us have information, we just don't share. So thanks to you, and may God bless you.
And her mother there is with me, she knows more about me probably in the family than the rest of us. But anyway, if you want to say something, David?
Yes, I just want to say, I'm very proud of you, and I've been knowing you since before.
Okay.
But I'm glad you went on to do what you're doing. And I want to say another thing that our parents would give us too was black drum.
It's what?
Black
Black drum, okay. So you got the castor oil, the turkey time, and black drum, right, okay.
So I, the last thing that I took, I told them I wouldn't take it no more. No more castor
Thank you. Comments. Melissa, we got, what you want to say? There's another officer, and we've had shared a meeting over in Burleson about a month ago, and so she's here today, because actually she kind of come and help me share, because I shared her meeting about a month ago at Holly Hill Mall at the Burleson Arts League. So if you'd like to have a word to Melissa, she's written a book under Wayne's guidance too.
I'm just very proud of what Dr. Fuller is doing. It's a great service to the county and for anybody. And doctors don't do what you do the way they're supposed to do it. So I'm just very pleased to call you a friend and a co-author. Just pleased that you offer this service for people, because I think it's a great service to everybody.
And he's still using a flip phone.
We want to talk sometime.
We had a great turnout at the book signing. When I found out that he was the other author that Wayne had published, he had said that I just published a doctor, and I said, "Is it Dr. Fuller?" And he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "I've known him for a long time, and I knew he was writing a book, so I wanted Dr. Fuller to be at my book signing at the mall," and he came. His book was not yet complete, but it was an honor to have him at my book signing to promote his book as well. So, very good. Thank you.
Ms. Jeanette, you said you wanted a testimony?
Yes, I have a written testimony from my niece that lives in Maryland. And she has 3 children, she's married, and she had been having a lot of issues with her stomach and pain and allergies. Allergies just came out of nowhere. Every time we look around, she was allergic to this, allergic to that. And she just didn't understand what was going on. And the latest diagnosis was Hashimoto's disease with the thyroid. And so I was talking to her, and I, knowing Dr. Fuller, I do my research too, so I'm trying to find out as much as I can, like you said, Reverend Boswell, Pastor Boswell, about the gut health, because I have had my issues too. But she said, "I just want to thank you and Donald for educating us on parasites. My stomach feels so much better. So far, so good. I haven't been in a lot of pain in my abdomen. I appreciate you both." A couple of weeks later, she says, "Thank you!" Exclamation. Happy face. Also, just want to say it's been coming up on 2 weeks now. Now, mind you, she had been taking some parasite cleansing medication supplement. Wormwood is another one that you can take. And she said, coming up on 2 weeks now, my stomach is feeling good. I feel like I can run a marathon. And then she laughed out loud. And then she said, I have eaten food that normally gets my stomach upset and still feeling good. I know you and Donald were sent from God to give me this message. So thankful. So, unsolicited, that's my baby. She sent that because she was in a lot of pain. And, when you have something that you can share with someone that can help them, that's like Dr. Fuller said, just share and try to help your fellow man, because that's what it's all about. But that's it, thank you.
Appreciate the comments from your niece. Any other questions or comments around?
Do you mind us sharing our stories? Do you mind us sharing our personal
We're
stories?
here today till library closing rooms away. We have to pay a little overtime, so let's have it. Let's
I've
not
been
get-
trying to meet this gentleman for a couple years just because intuitively I knew there was something wrong going on. And indirectly through an integrative provider, I was asked if I would be interested in testing my stool. And yes, I've been trying to find this person to do that. Long story short, my internal bleeding, my intestinal bleeding, was diagnosed as parasites, and I've got a ways to go, but I'm feeling much stronger, and there's no more internal bleeding, and I can't thank God enough for Dr. Fuller, because I know just a regular person like me, if I'm suffering with things that no doctors will give me answers for, I'm not the only one. I'm just an average Jane. And so we're all just average Joes and Janes, and at some point, it wouldn't surprise me that if everybody has to address this situation in themselves. We also had an unfortunate situation in which my husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he refused mainstream approach, and this was before we had met Dr. Fuller, but we used, we did our own research and used an anthelmetic approach toward his cancer treatments, and he's 3 years alive now with no symptoms. He has no oncologist that will see him in the area. He's been asked not to come back to any of those hospitals. So we're just walking in faith, and Dr. Fuller helps validate that walk of faith. And he's right, he's been divinely guided. So I gotta stop because I'll get emotional. And thanks for listening, and thank you, Dr. Fuller.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. So I ask all of you to bring them specimen to Mr. Andrews. Howdy.
Hey, well, talking about nieces, first of all, we saw Dr. Fuller for a number of years for our dogs and ourselves. And her, my wife's doctor had
A little louder, please, sir. A little,
my wife's doctor had met Dr. Fuller at a conference and talked to him about some stuff and recommended my wife come up and see him. And she did. And our niece at that time was up in Virginia. She and her husband were trying to, get their family going. They had one child, and they were trying to get another, and they had a lot of trouble. Went to all the doctors, went to specialists, went to everything. Nothing worked at all. And then I think it was one time my wife mentioned that Dr. Fuller, and he started talking about, well, she may have an issue with, parasites that's causing the problem or something. Well, she came down here and she went over, talked to him, we looked at some samples and stuff, and went back home, and she and her husband both, took the recommendation Dr. Fuller had to treat themselves and all like that. And this was a couple of years they've been trying to, extend the family. And 2 months later, she was pregnant. And they were planning on naming the baby Donald, but it's a girl. So, we're going to have to wait for the next one.
Now, relating to the female problems of conception, in my book, there's been more, but I've got 6 from different socioeconomic walks of life who have been on no form of birth control anywhere from 2 years to maybe 8 years. And it's ironic, once they got treated for the parasites, they got pregnant within 6 to 8 months. So parasites will rock the body of its essentials to cycle like it should. In the book, pinworms can crawl from the rectal to the urogenital organ. It's just like the females wearing an IUD. Now, he said he was going to name the baby Donald, but I had a situation a little bit stronger than that. One of the individuals that I hunt with, And we was in the duck swamp hunting that morning, and you know, you gotta wait until half hour after sunrise before you can start shooting, because we use hunt. And we were standing there just talking, making conversation, waiting on the head up. Decoys out in the swamp. And this gentleman, I can see his eyes, he can see my eyes. He said, Dr. Fuller, I want to personally thank you. So without you, I wouldn't have had no children. And I looked at him, and here we standing here with a loaded shotgun. Just he and I now, you know, I could have got dumped in the swamp and we was an accident. I said, sir, I have never touched your wife. He said, I don't mean like that. So anyway, you know, life is good, but you got to understand the good pros and cons and whatnot, you know. But now they have 3 healthy boys as a result of, ironically or coincidentally, once they got treated for the parasite, they have 3 healthy children. Wow. So I'm just saying, if you got somebody in your family that's trying to conceive or having problems, or females having problems, men having problems, go get tested for internal person. It does bring havoc on the body from head to toe. I've got enough documentation to vouch for that. So, yeah. I got another classmate come in, Larry Johnson, neighbor, Sunday school mate, all above. Yes, so a lot of my classmates are here today too, fellas. So Larry, you got a few words you want to say, because he's on the board with the rapping balls and digging.
Well, all I want to say is that me and Dr. Fuller did grow up together. I knew him way before we started school. And then we started Sunday school. Before we started school, we couldn't even read. But while we was acting, he was studying. In his shoes.
Thank you. So long. Yeah. So, anybody else want to comment, question?
I have a question. Is your phone number in the book?
Not in that book, just the email address. But I'm still just in the yellow page on the veterinary service.
Okay.
And most people don't have a landline. They're like Dr. Penn said to me, I still got a flip phone. So.
I still have a landline.
Oh, okay. Well, I got rid of my landline, but anyway, so you know, they just want to like. Gregor, you got something you want to say there? Those clients, somebody you want to? Yep. Okay. Just want to announce everybody come in today. Miss Gory, Sister Stella, y'all all cousins made the food over there. Just, everybody come around to the trough, get a bite to eat. Because see, as I was telling the story earlier about my dad, when Wayne asked earlier about, I said, Dad, if the business don't work, I said, I've been going away from home for 8 years and kind of wandered around about 8, 10 different towns during the summer, getting summer jobs, and stayed in Alabama 4 years for school. I said, Dad, the business failed. I said, you will let me come eat at the hog trough. I said, I'm the prodigal child. So after that, my dad didn't say no more. He said, I wish you luck, son, and walked on out the door. So I am the prodigal child, as Alan said, you can't go home again. Mayor Foster, okay? There, cousin-in-law, he got the family because he married my pretty cousin, okay?
Well, I call him Donald. We're first cousins.
Yeah.
And years ago, Donald tried to get me to send him a sample. No, I wouldn't do it. Maybe 2 or 3 years after that, I was diagnosed with cancer. Hindsight.
And she was named after my mother. My mother's named Deborah. In that day, they named D.V.M, but they pronounce it as Deborah in the Bible. Her name is Deborah, okay? But she was named after my mother, her okay? I call her Deb, but Deborah, so that's the way it goes, okay? And Miss Kathy here, her mother was kind of like my mentor when I came home from Tuskegee and started the Kansas County AT Alumni Chapter. My mother was the president, Ms. Amber Spurlock. So Ms. Kathy, you want to say a word to her? I'm not Ms. Kathy. Thank you. You're good.
Yeah, I know you took care of, my mom had dogs, and you took care of those. And she was very proud of you. And I know I talked to you, I called you in 2017, and you told me that you were retired, getting ready to retire, you were going to work on your book. I am so proud of you too. Great job.
Well, that last is in print. Maybe a few mistakes, this, that, and the other, but I did the best that I knew how. And it's out there now. So you read it, govern yourselves accordingly. They say at the Baptist Church, the announcement has been made, the book is out there, govern yourselves accordingly. Anyone else like to make comments, questions? I mean, we got time to say no.
Can I finish?
Yeah, sure.
So hindsight hit me immediately. What if I hadn't had the test? And if there were parasites, maybe that could have been avoided, the cancer. So, and I will always have that in the back of my mind. So I encourage people to do that.
You don't have to. She's encouraging to get tested. Get tested. Come see me. I don't want much, just a little bit. It can be a day or 2 week old. Parasite's not going anywhere, okay?
Don't be ashamed.
Here she said, don't be ashamed, okay?
Don't be ashamed. Might say you like it.
Like you say, maybe your very own. You know. It's kind of like the joke with the little bird that fell out the nest early in the spring year trying to flop his wings. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, the temperature dropped back there and he got chilled and kept going in the cold shock. Found about daybreak, the wool come around, grazing up on the tree and splattered on top of the bird, warmed him up. Bird got the chirping, get strong again because it got warm from the bull pile. About an hour or 2 later, the cat come around, making his round, dug the little baby bird out from under the manure, cleaned him off, and ate him up. So the moral of the story is that everybody that puts manure on you ain't necessarily your enemy. Everybody that cleans you out from under is not necessarily your friend. Bring me some, okay?
That's right.
But anyway, I got a few more books left here, and it's kind of like Charles.
Although Donald didn't remember that we started out in the first grade together, we did.
Yeah, okay.
And he was always a big boy.
Yeah, I'm
You
big for
know,
me.
almost killed me in the first grade. falling on me playing football. But Larry, he was trying to say that he didn't study. But look, he's the doctor. But the thing I wanted to just say is, primarily we applaud you for returning to the county. Because that's the step that you made that a lot of folks don't make. You know, I just came back myself after about 50 years. But you felt a dedication to this county, our home county, to come back and make a contribution. Not only did you make it as a veterinarian, but you made it as a friend. So many times we come home, when I did come home for family funerals and whatever, I know over the years you've supported people, not only as a veterinarian, but just as a friend as well. But the main thing, I just applaud you for coming back to this county and making such a major contribution. This has been your ministry. You could have been much more successful financially somewhere else, I'm sure, but you chose to come back home. So you can come back home again, and we applaud you for that.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for being here. Now, don't leave without buying one of his books, okay? Don't rely on your neighbor to buy the book and then you read it. So talk to him, buy his book, enjoy this wonderful food here, but we just appreciate you so much. We really do.
Wayne, thank you for your help.
I can't wait to see, just to watch him go and grow and talk about his books and stuff. I mean, as a publisher, I don't know if I could be any more prouder of him and this lady Mary and Melissa, where they've done a great job in little old Yanceyville, Caswell County. Who would have thought? So this is pretty good stuff. So thank you. Be sure to talk to him and buy his book. And hopefully this lady over here will have a YouTube sometime soon, and we'll be able to put his presentation on YouTube. Okay, so you can see it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Just a minute that way. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to make a confession. I actually took a sample to Doc, and I can tell you it was a very, very uncomfortable experience. Primarily because, as he said, we had grown up together, and some of our teachers thought we should have been together.
Oh.
so it was a little uncomfortable. But Donald, there's probably, I got the sample, I got his report, I took it to my doctor at UNC Chapel Hill. It just so happened that one of the residents who looked at my sample at UNC had also done some work at the Caswell County Medical Center.
Oh, look at you.
And he said to me, "Is that the same Dr. Fuller that is the veterinarian trying to tell everybody all about this stuff?" I said, "Yeah, that's probably the same one." So I'm saying this to say it has not been an easy road for Donald, because he has had to deal with MDs who reject this concept, and my doctors rejected it. I need to go back to this. I might be coming to see you again. This time time I won't feel so embarrassed. But that's my story. And at first I wasn't going to say anything. And then I thought, well,
Why not?
there is another side to this that shows the dedication that Charles was talking about and the commitment that it takes to go against the grain and question the medical establishment. So I'm going to read this book very carefully, and I have an appointment in April with my doctor, so I may talk to you before then.
Please
But
do.
I have a different position than I had at the UNC Medical Center. And I know, do you remember the name of that resident that used to go against his medical center? If I can find his name, I'll send it to you.
I know what you're talking about. We won't call names.
Okay, but anyway. It was
Because the same resident that she's talking about that was here at the Family Medical Center, what they do when they come out of school, they'll come here to a rural area and get the frayed 10% of their student loans paid back. So they stay here maybe 2 years and leave and go back to the bigger cities or whatnot. But that particular residence, I had did several tests, and they had gone up into the medical center, and he called the state veterinary medical board on me and said, I was practicing human medicine without a license. That's been about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And I wrote the board and told him, yes, I'm testing people. I was trained at Wayne State, trained at Tuskegee, and if it was any disease like tick fever, Lyme that the dog had, I, as a veterinarian, supposed to tell the owner, the client, about this disease. So we have the animals licking off the ice cream cone, sleeping in bed with you, passing worms, and if I make the diagnosis, then so they wrote me back, so long as I don't write a prescription, I haven't crossed a human-animal bond. So I still got my license. They make them take my water this afternoon, but I still have my license. Thank you. Okay? But I stood my ground, and my boxing gloves are on now, so if any of you go back to your family doctor, and you see the eggs allowed under microscope in my office, I will accompany you to your doctor, to your lawyer, whoever you want to go. I had one gentleman that told his doctor, you're not going to leave this office today unless you give me a prescription. Said, I'm $50,000 debt for my copay and 7 years of chronic fatigue, and you never said anything about parasites. He said, but I saw it under the veterinarian's microscope, and he's been doing my horse work for 15 years, my grandfather's cows for about 15 to 20 years. You gonna give me one of them Sunday school words, and I won't say that today, Reverend Boswell, but it ain't Reverend Robinson. And put his finger on the guy's nose and said, you gonna give me a prescription today or ain't nobody leaving this office. And the man's a new man today. He came back from office about 3.5 months later and did a dance jig, and he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm out pitching ball with my 11, 8-year-old son. In April, me and the wife went out and found 16th anniversary, said the first time we went out of town in about 3 years. So you don't only save my life, but you save my family and marriage and all. That's right. I just, stories like that I can bag up, that I think if I subpoena this gentleman, the next gentleman, that gentleman, they can tell that story that, hey, this stuff is for real. I mean, I'm not here because I want to be here. I could be out, pitching horseshoes or learning pickleball today, but get tested, folks. Get yourself tested. Yes, Mr. Knapp.
How often do you check animals for parasites?
I recommend minimum twice a year. And then we put them on preventive medication sometimes. Certain medication you use that you can give monthly. But like the old folks used to do us in the black draw, right? And the castor oil, they line us up twice a year, so I said minimum twice a year. That's my take on it. Okay. Yes, Mr.
I want to thank you for all that you've done for us and everything.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine.
You've been a wonderful friend and a veterinarian.
Not only that, the payoff sometimes is better than you think. Because I get a few sweet potato pies and brownies, so I have to learn to kind of control those things a little bit, okay?
One thing I would like to do, because this guy's going to become famous,
whoa.
I'd like for him to step about 5 feet forward, and as many of you as can, get behind him for a photograph. Okay? If you could just scope and scoot in right behind him. Okay?
I don't know about the famous part, but anyway.
I want to get the picture.
You want to get the picture?
I want to get the picture.
She said, am I supposed to be? She can get the picture, okay?